This is the Thrive Podcast with Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. And now, Pastor Fred Jeff Smith.
That's good. Welcome to the Thrive Podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh, and I am delighted today to have as my guest Mr. Tony King, who is an actor, who is a comedian, who is a nationally syndicated radio host.
Oh, done the show prep. I'm impressed.
And he is from a preaching family. He has two older brothers who both pastor churches, and we've just been enjoying reminiscing about what the church used to be like as we try to move forward to where the church can and should be. Hold on. So we were talking about church, and we were trying to get to the place that I was hoping that you could help me and those who are listening understand how to make the traditional church, because Shiloh is a traditional African American church. Yeah. How do we make the traditional church more attractive to and more relevant to young adults?
Without compromising.
Without compromising.
Yeah. Because that's the big thing. I think without compromising is the big thing. Because anybody can be super extra social. You can let certain social, cultural, spiritual norms become relaxed. And everybody will come. Everybody feel comfortable. Everybody will do whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that, of course, you still want to maintain the spiritual integrity. And like you said, I want to say I am really impressed that you named all my credits. Like I've never had that happen. Well, in the history of any interview. So, thank you. No, I would say that, and like you said, I come from a preaching family. I'm going to answer the question right now. No. Everybody always say, oh, you next? I'm not going to say never. I'm just saying.
I appreciate that. I respect that. I come from a preaching family, too.
Well, see, here's the thing. I feel like, I'm the secret agent, right? So I got to be out in the world and come back and let everybody know, well, this is what they doing. Well, how you know? I don't. This is spy business. I'm doing spy. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord, but I'm a secret agent. No, I'm just playing. I'm just. Anyway, no. I think what has to happen is that I think one thing that people look at church sometimes as an obligation. Mm-hmm. Like you got to get up and go to church. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to get up and go. Or you feel bad if you don't go. So it's almost like there's a thought process that going to church is something you have to do out of obligation. I don't think that's what God created worship for, out of obligation. Like, who wants to do something simply because you have to? Sure. Like, there's no joy in that. Like, how are you a cheerful giver if you have to give it? Like, oh, here we go. Yeah. He reading Malachi again. I know it's offering time. Golly, man, these. Who wants to do anything out of obligation, know? I think what has to happen is there has to be a rebranding of making it fun, and not fun as in a caricature of itself. Mm-hmm. Fun as in, I remember my mom telling me when she was younger that they would have dances at the church.
Because it was the only place you could.
It's the only place you could.
Right.
It's the only place you could do something.
Right.
When I was growing up, we had a church softball team. Mm-hmm. Like most of the reasons that we were in church every single day was not just for worship. Like, it wasn't like, I think we had Sunday all day. Pick a time. Pick a time. Sunday. I understand. From woke to woke.
Yes.
Okay, all day. Monday we had drill team, so that was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. Tuesday we had our midweek on Tuesday, so Tuesday was our midweek. Wednesday was junior usher board. That was kind of fun because you're around your friends, Thursday was choir rehearsal. Friday we would have some level of social. Saturday we halfway had off. Halfway. You may have had a meeting, some auxiliary, somebody was going to meet for something extra that may be going on, you know, past the anniversary coming up. We got to meet for that. The Christmas tea coming up. We got to meet for that. Or, you know, the school, back to school, whatever is coming up. We got to meet for that, you know. But, and then Sunday, of course, we started back over again.
Right.
So it was, in terms of the ratio of worship to social, the worship to social ratio was a little bit more balanced. I think what has happened is that I think that improving the worship to social ratio needs to change. Because here's the thing, how can you expect somebody to be spiritual minded and then they go out they spend most of their time out into the world? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and it can't be cheesy either. You know, like what happened to showing movies in the church? And not saying, you know, here's the thing. And I understand, you know, of course there's you have stuff that you can and cannot show, but just from my immediate knowledge, and I think I saw Black Panther like 3 times, I don't recall any cussing in it.
Well, there was a finger pointed at least once, as I recall. The little sister when she was walking away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Well, that Nolan voiced that, but I'm just saying, you know, what would be the reasoning for not, you know, having some social Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You know,
well, some churches do that. They have what they call Super Sundays,
Yeah.
and they get a big screen TV. I think Shiloh did it once under my father. If you don't know, that's my dad.
I kind of picked that up.
Yeah, and he pastored this church for 50 years. I think they did that once or twice. The Brotherhood Ministry did it. I'll be honest with you. When I want to watch Super Bowl, I want to watch Super Bowl in my own house.
Well, see, you come at it from a different perspective, though, because you want to relax.
Yeah.
You done been in church already all day. You know, that's like, hey, what you doing when you get off work? Oh, man, I'm going to go back to work. You know?
You make a very good point.
Yeah, like, what you do with for fun? Oh.
But let's talk about the social to worship ratio, because I think that's a fair point and an interesting place to start. One of the distinctions, and I'm older than you, I can just tell that. I'm 56, almost 57.
Oh, I'm 59. See, black don't crack.
In my youth, there was so much that black folk could not do. There were so many places that blacks could not go. They could not participate. Blue laws existed, so there was no shopping that was being done on Sunday. There were still white-only facilities, so you couldn't go to the amusement park, the little amusement park that we had here. And then, as I said earlier, it was drilled into us by our parents and grandparents and significant others that Sunday was the Lord's day, and that's what you were going to do. Not only that, but during the week, most of your recreational activities had to be somehow attached to the church, because you weren't able to involve yourself in AAU. You weren't able to involve yourself in some of these other social activities that now exist. In fact, some of these social activities came into existence as a response to the fact that we had no place else to go. But now the church is in competition with these groups. We're in competition with the fraternities and the sororities. We're in competition with Jack and Jill. We're in competition with top ladies of distinction and the various other groups that exist out there. We're in competition for their time. We're in competition for their energy. We're in competition for their dollars. I have made this point on this podcast a couple of times. For black folk, by and large, discretionary income is at a minimum. We don't do this and that.
Oh, no.
We do this or that. And it's a huge difference between this and this or. So if a family chooses that we're going to send our child to AAU, that's money that the church ain't going to get. if the family decides that we're going to be a part of that our daughter is going to make her debut, well, that's dollars that's going to the sorority that the church is not going to see. And somebody's sitting out there saying, well, why does the church need dollars? And my response is quick.
Last I checked,
there is no ministry without money. Well, it's just that simple.
Here's the thing. The electricity on, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And
they don't take prayer.
Oh, there you go.
They don't do that.
That's one thing that I always get into it with people about, because I take it personal, because, you know, my brothers do that, you know, and by that I mean they pastor churches, and that is, well, they should do it for free. Well, I've seen my oldest brother have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the hospital.
Yes.
On multiple occasions. You know, I've seen him, you know, counseling and, you know, all of these other things. I see that he gets up, even on Mondays, that's supposed to be his off day. He normally takes Mondays off. Monday, he gets up and he goes to the church and he's planning himself and strategic meeting with himself so that when he has his leadership meeting, he can be more prepared. I see the whole wall of books that he prepares and all of that. So when you say that is not deserving, or if you say that him and his managerial style and skills that allowed him to be able to purchase the parking lot next door so that the members don't have to park down the street and have to walk up the road and be unsafe, or if you see that they were able to cancel, you know, to pay off some debt early that the previous pastor had, you know, acquired in building the Family Life Center, they were able to pay it off through his managerial style and being able to do certain things. Well, it's a business.
Yes.
And people think that just standing in the pulpit every Sunday is the full Monty. Nah, that's game day. Mm-hmm. You don't see the practice that goes into it. You don't see the time that's here. You don't see that, oh, I'm here, but my son is playing a game, but I got to be late to the game and miss out on these memories because I'm here managing. People don't see that, you know. And so when things like that are said, I get upset. But to answer your point, the competition, and I'm going to tell you, they spend a lot of money in youth sports, youth activities. I have a friend, and she just showed me the paper for cheer. They're getting ready to start a new season of cheer. $7,000. Mm-hmm. Like you said. And they got it coming out. They say, hey, you can ACH it. You know, we want your $340. We want your $350 every month. And, oh, yeah, during this travel season, it's going to be $500.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, golly, that's a car note. For cheer?
Absolutely.
What happened to being old school and she go outside and cheer with her little friends? Shake it to the E.
Yeah, there you go.
You better cheer on the porch.
Yeah.
You know, but what's funny is, you're right, being honest. And I'm glad that you said that. It is a competition. Mm-hmm. It is a competition. And people don't understand that the reason that I don't want to say the church is losing. It's not losing. I don't want to say that. But the reason that the competition is so strong, I think, is because we can't keep using fear as the tactic.
I agree.
And I think that for the most part, and this is what I've told both of my brothers, don't compete with it. Mm-hmm. Embrace it. Mm-hmm. So if you have, if you know AAU is huge and we're getting ready to come up on summertime, and you know, what is it that AAU always needs? They always need money.
Right.
Okay. We want to honor you all. We want to honor this AAU team that's going on to play nationals, these young brothers and sisters that are going on to represent their community, that are going on to do something positive, when in the summertime, we all know that they could be doing something extremely negative. You know, we want to honor these young people in our service this Sunday. And not only that, we want to help them bring that trophy back. Mm-hmm. And when they bring it back, we're going to celebrate these young brothers and sisters right here in Shiloh.
Yeah.
Let us hold that trophy for a month. And we're going to put it up and we're going to let everybody know that it was because of y'all's effort they were able to do it. Yeah. And we're going to hold a special love offering for these young brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Who going to say no?
Yeah.
And when those 12 kids come, they come with their parents and their little brothers and sisters and their aunties and uncles. And when those 12 young girls come, they come with their little sisters and brothers and uncles and aunties. So right then, you just got 50, 60 people that just came in.
Right.
And now when they come in, then it's the opportunity, and it's a great chance to reach some people, to hear this message, to be able to be greeted by our greeters ministry and be able to feel the love when they come in and say, you know what, I actually kind of like this. This was pretty good. I like the music ministry. They really brought it, and you know what, I might come back next week.
In other words, when you get them, you got to be on point.
Oh yeah.
You can't have off day.
It
can't slack off.
Can't be.
Yeah.
Can't be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, but I think, and that's one thing that I've told them is don't compete with it. Never compete. Embrace.
Mm-hmm.
Stand. Whenever you feel the need to compete with anything in life, embrace it.
Right.
Because by embracing it, now you can stand on their shoulders and actually become greater.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Same thing with you know, debutantes and you know, anything. See, the church traditionally has been a resource.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just how we resource it has to be a little different.
Yeah.
You know, where the church used to be a library and people could come and, you know, and the hall of records and all of these things. Well, okay, well, now we got Google, but now we can be something else.
Right.
You know, now we can be something a little bit different.
Right.
And just kind of evolve to fit the lifestyle of what's going on.
Part of that social aspect, which was a part of this church, Shiloh actually had what they called a Christian debutante tea. That went on for several years. I can't tell you how many years I was the escort of some young lady who was a part of the Christian debutante program. But many of those things were done as fundraisers. We had different groups in the church. First, there were the Zodiac groups, and then somebody said, well, the Zodiac is of the devil, so they went from being Zodiac to being month clubs. Same difference. Right. But then the month clubs, each one sponsored a young lady, and it was all done to raise money. At the point where this church moved away from fundraising and embraced more fully tithes and offerings, many of those fundraising activities went away. Since we're not raising funds anymore, we're not going to have the harvest tea. We're not going to have the Valentine's tea. We're not going to have the choir's anniversary. We're not going to have the Christian debutante tea. And as a result, people started looking to other places in order to have these social outlets. Yeah. So I'm hearing what you're saying, and I tend to agree with you. We had it in our grasp, and in the name of progress, as far as stewardship is concerned, we let go of the social aspect of it, and now we're in the process of trying to get it back. Yeah. And it's not so easy a thing to do.
And especially when you have so many distractions. I mean, because you know, I remember because we were reminiscing, okay?
Right.
And I remember if your head went down too long, you was gonna get a tap. Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, hit more than once by the ushers in the back.
I remember one time I snuck a G.I. Joe in the church.
Bless your heart.
Oh. Well, see, it was a running joke that, like, I got more whoopings at church than I did anywhere else. Like, I remember one time my pastor brought me up for a special offering because they said my mama had used all the switches off the tree right in front of church. True story. True story. We're in a church. I can't lie about this. True story.
Yeah.
Had used all the switches off the tree. So imagine, I knew the women's bathroom very well.
I understand.
Like, I snuck what was I thinking? And so
G.I. Joe was more fun than church.
It really was. It really was. I mean, real American hero. But the thing is that, you know, I think that we have to get to a place where church can actually be fun. Like, it doesn't have to seem like, oh man, I gotta get up and go to church.
Yeah.
Like I say, embrace it. Like if brunch is the cool thing, well, what's with having brunch?
Right.
If like everything you want to do there, do it here, just minus the sin. Like, you can still have fun in church. Perfect example. I DJ too. Like I'm a total entertainer.
Okay.
And so I remember one time I was doing a banquet for a church in the church. And one thing that I like to do is I like to mix secular instrumentals with church songs.
Mm-hmm.
Those people were dancing. Not I don't want my pastor to see me dancing. I'm talking about they was really just getting into it, and they bobbing their head, two-stepping, and I had to pull it down because they were getting ready to eat, and you never want people to be too, hype when they're eating.
Right.
They were like, no, play it again. They wanted to, keep going. When you do go to the social play, it has to be fun. Mm-hmm. Like really fun. It can't be, one of those lame things where it's like we try and act like we don't like to have fun. And that's one thing I think a lot of people do as well is we go to church and try to act like there's a certain element that we don't like. Like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know that Cash Money is taking over for the 99 and the 2000. Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like we try to act, and not saying that you have to bring that or compromise, but just allow a person to really be able to express their personality. And I think that is really how you institute a greater level of spiritual living, because then it's not, okay, well, let me put my cigarette out in the car and spray my cologne on. Yeah. Now you're more of this is how I am outside as well, so I don't need to do that, because you know what I'm saying? It's I think we still in this era of I have to act holy, rather than really being. Like acting versus being. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're still acting. Because being would mean that we could do all of these things and be social. And like, this really could be like, okay, Saturday, we're going to have a chance for, like we make everything sound so. And I get on my brothers about this. Like, to say in the church, everything's a ministry. Right. Everything. Like, it's the music ministry, the greeters ministry, the if you got some single mothers, it's the baby mama ministry. It's the, it's the everything minute, the cooking minute, yes. Everything's a ministry. Yes. Like, why does it have to be a ministry? Because that brings up an idea of being rigid, or I can't be me, or, oh, that's just churchy. When it could just be, we're cooking.
I remember when the switch came. Mm-hmm. You didn't call everything a ministry. Back when I was a boy, you called them auxiliaries.
Auxiliaries, yeah.
Auxiliaries and boards.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you as a pastor's son, the whole board mentality was something that you wanted to get away from as quickly as possible, because boards suggested control. Yeah. And you did not want to cede that control to somebody else. And the shift from auxiliary to ministry was seen as a progressive thing. We can make a ministry out of anything. Anything that we can do, we can turn it into a ministry. But I'm hearing you say, if I'm hearing you correctly, that perhaps we have overused the term and misused the term.
Well, it's almost like, okay, just because, over a 20, 30-year period, it was relevant, but we've progressed from that point. So it's like no different from being colored to Negro, from Negro to black, and black to African American. Right. It's the same level of progression, and I think that we can't get still caught up, because it still brings. If I hear ministry, it's churchy. Right. And if it's churchy, then I know that this is how it's going to be. And I don't think anybody wants to, truly be tightly wound. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the athletic ministry, or, it's just, it can just be Shiloh having a basketball tournament. It doesn't have to be, it's like, okay, they got a basketball tournament in Shiloh, or they got, a social or a tea at Shiloh. Okay, cool. I can go hang out, we make this ministry thing, and I think what that does is it flips the switch to where people then start from being to acting.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, okay, well, I know I got to put on my church face, and I got to, make sure I listen to my Travis Green before I go, and I gotta make sure that I'm listening to my my Motown gospel. Let me make sure I got my Motown guy. Now I need something a little bit older than this. Give me some, so it's like,
Yeah.
like you can be you.
Respond to this for me.
Okay.
I think it's along the same lines of what you're talking about. One of the things that I hear, one of the things that I have said when discussing young people and church is that young people are opting for church choices where there is less accountability. That they want to be able to come to worship. And if this is an outdated phrase, get their praise on. But they don't want to have to come back to usher meeting on Monday and deaconess meeting on Tuesday and Bible study on Wednesday and choir rehearsal on Thursday.
Oh, wow.
That they just want to be able to come to worship, and when worship is over, get back to their lives. Is that an accurate assessment or inaccurate?
Are you saying that young people have like a one night stand church mentality? I hate to say it like that. I mean, that's a little.
No, but okay. Let's follow it that way
because it's all the benefits
right
of church. Okay, I can come, praise. I love the choir.
Right.
I love the word. I can peace out. No real attachment. I can leave at any time.
Right.
And I'm good.
Right.
One
of the things
that is that same situation.
One of the things that white churches do that tend to draw a segment of black people is that they don't count members.
Yeah.
They don't have a membership role.
Yeah.
In our churches we have a role.
Yeah.
And that
and
role.
And you let the people know the role. It's a
absolutely.
sign. We hear it.
But part of being on a roll is being accountable.
Yeah.
But if you're in a church where they don't take roll, where they don't know,
you can just come, do you and leave.
Come, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
When it's over, you can leave. Like you say, peace out, and I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And I think that for some young people, whether the church be a Bethany or a healing place, the white churches, or whether it be black churches that have adopted that kind of administrative style, I think that there is an attractiveness that exists there where I'm not going to get called on Tuesday to come to a meeting on Thursday evening.
And you ain't got to stand either.
Right.
State your name and determination.
There you go.
You ain't got to, you can be anonymous.
Yes.
Now, that's a really good point. Okay, this is a quick plug for my brother. He just wrote a book called Black Jesus, White Jesus, The Search for a Colorless Christ. I love the title. Available on Amazon. It's a great book, Christopher L. King. But in the book, he talks about that. It's called Praising Up, or Worshiping Up. It is a chapter, I'm sorry, Worshiping Up. And he talks about that, how, through his search, he went, there was a time period where he did go to a church like that, and where he did, it was the same situation, just what you were talking about. And he didn't necessarily talk about the lack of accountability, but he did talk about how there was a feeling of progression when you went there. And again, two separate situations. My oldest brother is more of a church where, like I said, they put the church attendance and, what you brought in tithes,
right.
And, here are the new members,
right.
Here's, it's 3 people and got their picture and, on the Polaroid type
Absolutely.
situation. And I'm wondering, is that, because I've been on both sides, is that what I think I might have liked that? But then what would be the reasoning why I like that? That kind of forces me to have to explore that.
I think
like
there are various reasons.
Why would I not want church accountability?
Privacy, number one. Number two, I have a life separate and distinct from the church, whereas historically the church has been the hub from which everything else flowed. The church and the segregated school.
Yeah.
They were the hubs of
They were the same thing, because I remember Cedar Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Vicksburg had a little school right there, and that was the Cedar Grove school. It was a color school.
So that was our history. With the influx of integration, with the elimination of blue laws, and with blacks having greater access to other things in society, I think that there has been a fading away of wanting to have all your business in the church exposed.
I ain't gonna lie now. I overheard a conversation or two.
Yeah.
Where, well, such sister such and such. Yeah.
I've had people tell me that they left this church and went to a different church because they felt like too many people in this church knew their business. And so it had nothing to do with theology, which I think is overrated. Preachers like to think that folk join churches based on theology. We like to think that.
That's like saying, man, I like to watch this particular newscast because they lighten. And the way they run their teleprompters is, you don't know that.
Yeah. But it's because they want a certain degree of distance between their private selves and what they share in the church experience.
Okay, so then that kind of goes back to acting versus being. Because if I am who I am, then I am the same all the time. And so, there is a level of transparency and accountability to where, I don't mind you knowing what's going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there are certain aspects. If you have, a health issue or something like that, you may not necessarily want everybody all in your business. But, let's be real. When people say all in my business, that's really either who I'm messing with or what's going on with my kids or my financial situation and how my lights was off, 2 days ago, whatever. That's really what they're talking about. And really probably more so the financial situation, who I'm messing with and my kids, And so, but if I am really living what it is that I come to get every Sunday and Wednesday and whenever else I come, if I'm really living that, then I really don't mind. So the question is, are we really living or are we acting? Are we being or are we acting? Because if you want some separation, you can't separate who you are versus who you are.
Right.
But you can separate who you are versus who you try to appear to be.
Right.
So that's I think each question leads you to more questions.
Yeah. I think that's a very good way of saying
it. If that makes any sense. Like every question leads you to, like you bringing up that point about not wanting the accountability. That is a very good point. And I would say yes. True story. I remember one time I went to Bethany and it was the beginning of the service, and they said, hey, everybody stop. Right now, you see all the tables in the back? Go sign up for one of these ministries. You have to sign up for one. And, rightfully so, I went and, being a guy, and I said, hey, media sounds pretty cool. That's what my major in college and all of this stuff. And okay, well, let's just sign my name. I got to. And, they called me instantly, like maybe an hour after church. It's like, golly, that was quick.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop. Like I had to just stop answering. And I really felt like y'all are really doing too much. Like, I don't know you like that. Like, slow down. I only wanted this for one day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really, I keep going back to that, but it really is kind of that situation. Like, why did I want distance?
Right.
Why did I just want to come and do me and leave?
Right.
Like, why?
Right.
I really have to explore that in myself.
Yeah.
Golly.
Well, let me shift gears with you for
Okay.
just a second, because you said earlier that you have two brothers who pastor, but they pastor different types of churches.
Yeah.
One organized his own church, which means that he doesn't have to listen to, well, when Pastor so-and-so was here, we always did it this way. And then the other brother.
I don't know why it got to be all that.
There you go.
But when Pastor such over here, we never had to do all that. I don't understand.
Versus your other brother who pastors a more traditional,
board,
older church.
Yeah, they got a board. Yeah. Everything approved by the board. You got it.
Tell me from their perspective as best you can, how you see them from those two different church perspectives.
It's okay. Now, just to clarify, I'm gonna go back and forth. My oldest one is traditional.
Right.
The younger one started. Okay. So for the traditional church, he just celebrated his 8th year as pastor. He was brought in, and the pastor passed away. Was brought in, old, like you said, everything, older congregation. And when he first came in, it was the headbutting. And as a matter of fact, I'm not.
Don't betray any confidence.
I'm not. I feel like lawyer-client confidentiality. But no, because we literally talk all day, both of us. We'll be on 3-way group chat, all that stuff. And so, when he first got there was a lot of, well, we ain't, when Pastor Jenkins was here, forgive me if it really is Jenkins. I don't know if it's Jenkins, but Jenkins just sounded real black.
Sure.
Do you know any white Jenkins?
No, I really don't.
I think Jenkins is like Jenkins must be Swahili for black or something. He's like, he said, Pastor Jenkins was here. We, I don't know why it got to be all that, and why we got the, Pastor Jenkins ain't no, and it was, he had a lot of resistance until he was able to get some wins under his belt. And then they were able to see, okay, well, we can trust him a little more. We can trust him a little more. We can trust him a little more. And now he has, to a certain degree, a great level of confidence from his board. So
what I call latitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
My middle brother, his has been a little bit more rocky, in terms of feeling the call in your life to preach. He initially started out under I don't know if you've seen this, where they're doing franchise ministries.
Right.
Where, okay, this is going to be this ministry, Houston, and this ministry, New Orleans and Dallas.
Austin, yeah.
And so he was under the pastoral leadership he was under. They wanted him to be that franchise in Dallas. He was going to get all the resources, all of the whatever, but there was, to a certain degree, a franchise fee that he had to pay for these resources.
Right.
And his own personal journey didn't necessarily coincide with how he saw they were doing things. So he felt the call that it was his time to step out and start his own ministry. And so his has been a little different because much like starting anything, you get the sweat equity and the financial burden of it all.
Yes.
Fortunately enough, he, works in corporate America even still now. So fortunately enough, he's able to supplement a lot. But like any new startup church, there's going to be some level of position inconsistency. There's going to be, where they were in this hotel. Okay, we're going to go from this hotel to this school.
Right.
And from this school, we're going to go to a church share with this church.
Right.
And now, thankfully, like right now, he just signed the lease for their new building on their own. Now, of course, that comes at a personal cost for him and his family.
Right.
So it's a bit difficult.
And how many years did it go from the house to the school to the shared to having their own facility?
2018. 13.
13 years.
No. I'm saying 2013. So
Okay, 5 years.
5 years. Oh no, 13 years. I might be like say, you ever heard of Shiloh? They got a great ministry at Shiloh.
No, but people don't realize how difficult that journey is.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who talks about this all the time. When you start from scratch, you don't have paper, you don't have a pen, you don't have a typewriter. You have nothing.
Zero.
Now, the liberty on the other end, where you don't have to hear, well, we've always done it this way before. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But you start from scratch.
Yeah. And
that's a difficult thing to do.
I'll say this. If he didn't have someone, his wife, who's supports and is a part of the vision and ministry,
Right.
it'd be way more difficult than what it is now.
Right.
He's been fortunate enough to have people drawn into his life and, who have assisted along the way, even like with the church share, they're offering like, hey, look, you're stepping out on faith. We have, 400 extra chairs over here. Take the chairs,
Great.
like, that's a true blessing.
That's great.
Or to know someone who has a drum set who, ain't played the drums in 16 years.
Right.
And, hey, come take these drum set. Oh, man, the cymbals brand new, still got the tag on them.
Yeah.
Truly a blessing. And, like, it's been interesting to hear both of them because my oldest brother is in a more, I would say, Winchester, Kentucky is a lot like Gonzales to Baton Rouge, as pertaining to Winchester to Lexington. Same kind of distance, same kind of demographic and whatnot. And so, my brother being from Houston, working in corporate America for so many years, leaving corporate America and then, pastoring and, he started off as an assistant pastor, at a church and, grew from there. And to see some of the things that he wants to implement. He wants to implement, a lot of contemporary ideas, and he's been able to do it. Like, honestly, I know I've come in to perform for his church, just things like that. They enjoy it. They it's one of those things where, like you said, the latitude, there was resistance, but once they see how it works, we all think something is impossible till it's done.
Right.
And once they see how it works, they're like, okay, we kind of see where you're leading. They redid the sanctuary just recently to give it more of a modern appeal. They had the screens put up on the sides and redid the baptismal pool and the choir stand, and the music pit to kind of, get some space, but also to make it more of a contemporary feel. And the people loved it. Yeah. Like, once they were, but initially, he had to earn it.
Oh, sure.
He had to earn it.
And he's going to have to earn it again.
He got to keep doing it.
History says that there's going to be a pushback. And I'm saying this not knowing your brother, not knowing the church situation. I just been in the church all my life.
No, it's
and I know what church folk are capable of doing.
Yeah.
There's going to come a point when he's going to say, the Lord has said, let's do this, and somebody's going to say, well, the Lord needs to tell us. Because he ain't spoke to us yet.
How we going to do all that? Yeah. We done all this, and how we going to do all Yeah.
There's a fatigue level that sits in, and somebody, there are always conversations that are being held in people's homes, around dinner tables, in bedrooms.
Yeah. That pillow talk is crazy.
He's going too far. Somebody needs to tell him no. Somebody needs to let him know that he can't do that without us.
Getting too big for his
there you go.
Yeah,
that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And so I'm just struck by the fact that you are literally hearing voices from two different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I was just curious as to how that plays out.
And it's an old church. Like, the original name of the church, like now it's First Baptist of Winchester. Mm-hmm. It originally was First Baptist Colored Church of Winchester.
Yes, because the white church had to be first.
Yeah.
Little known fact, just for folk who might be listening or watching, First Baptist Church Baton Rouge is not the First Baptist Church of Baton Rouge. It just decided that when they became, when they came into being, they told the First Baptist Church they couldn't be the First Baptist Church anymore, and so they became Mount Zion First Baptist Church. but truth be told, First Baptist Church ain't the First Baptist Church. Just thought you might want to know that.
Oh man, that's funny.
So you said earlier that you might not want to get racial, but I think that it's important that we do get racial.
I mean, it's the elephant in the room.
Because I tend to believe that while it should not be the most important thing, you cannot divorce culture from our religious history.
Yeah.
And as our culture is changing in other aspects and in other systems that exist within our country, within our communities, certainly those changes are going to be felt in the church as well. People think because they watch television ministries that there's a huge number of African American people who attend white churches. In fact, it's not huge; it's significant.
Yeah.
I don't call 15% huge, but it's about a 15% contingent.
Yeah.
For me, that's troubling. Because it's troubling from both the perspective as being a black man, as being an African-American pastor in a community, but it's also troubling from the standpoint of the message that they are receiving.
Yeah.
Because I am firmly convinced that the oppressor cannot speak to the needs of the oppressed. And when black folk find themselves or make their way to predominantly white churches, no disrespect to any church. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any church.
This ain't no shade.
No, it really is not. Bethany can't speak to the black church experience because Bethany ain't black.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, again, I hate to throw in another plug for my brother's book, Black Jesus, White Jesus, Search for a Colorless Christ. Great title. Available on Amazon, Chris Farrell King. So it's interesting that you say that because he says that in those two experiences, there are two different types of worship. Like he says that oftentimes that, and I've made jokes about this, that in a predominantly white church, like the worship music is different. And the worship music is different is because they're coming from a different place of what they're singing about.
Absolutely.
It's one thing to see God as this wonderful, loving being, and you are just so in love with his majesty and the gift of sending Christ down here for us, and they worship and proclaim Jesus as Lord.
Right.
So it's a love and oh Father lovely, oh so great and holy. It's loving.
Yes.
You go to the black church, Lord, I need you.
That's right.
Lord, be here for me. We worship. We need him as a savior.
That is correct.
So it's one thing to come from a perspective of love. Oh, great love shine. Oh, and then you come from, oh, Lord. Google is playing on a commercial. Work it out. Heard I got a light bill, dude. Work it out.
I heard it. And the only part they took out was turn it over to the Lord.
Come on. But what is he saying? Heard I got a light bill, dude.
Yes.
See, we singing about, Lord, I need my light bill paid.
He needs a pair of shoes.
Meanwhile, it's, oh, Father, oh, great and lovely.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be lovely.
Yes.
When you're from a position of power and privilege.
Yes.
Yeah, life is very lovely.
Yes.
Meanwhile, socially, we have a Yale student who was studying in a common area, studying hard, fell asleep, and had the police called on her.
Yes.
Because she ain't supposed to be there.
Right.
She a student.
Right.
She got to show her ID.
Right.
And her student, and they misspelled her name in the roll off by like one letter. And they still like, oh, where you stay? I stay here. Open up the door. Open up the door. Okay, show us your ID. That still ain't enough. Like, that's a common experience. So when you have to go through that and that is your reality, like,
yes, sir.
riding in the car even still now, when I see the police, it's like a shark
Yes.
in the water. Like,
Yes.
it's keep your head straight. Like, you get high blood pressure. Like,
Slow down.
You slow down. Don't look at them. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look.
That's
Don't
right.
look. As a kid,
Yes.
and the police was behind us.
Yes.
Oh, here go my mama. Oh Lord, here go the police. Everybody be still. Everybody be still.
My mother had a name
Everybody be
for
still.
Jonathan.
Eh,
Here comes Jonathan. That's what she used to say. And
Why Jonathan?
I have no idea where Jonathan came from, but it became the word in our family. There's Jonathan.
But you sit there and it's like, be still, be still. Turn around, look. Didn't I tell you don't look?
That's right.
Like don't draw any. Like it's only natural. Again, being versus acting.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to expect someone to be one way outside those doors and to totally be a totally different way inside. Like, you can act for so long, but when we leave out these doors, I'm still going to be. Being is at your very essence. That is who you are. Being is your very essence. We're human beings.
Right.
Like, that is all you can do is to be. And so if that is our current reality, it's difficult. I need something to, I don't just need a word in these four walls. Like, that's not where I need to apply this word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to apply, faith and vigilance and long suffering or any. I don't need any beatitude. I don't need none of that in the church. I need that out there.
Right.
So if that's where I need it, then I need a message that's going to be relevant for that I need to apply when I'm outside of these doors.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's cool to get the message that, just hold your head up. Oh, brother, it's all going to be just fine and everything is great because God loves everyone who is honorable and just and faithful
And clean.
and clean. That sound good.
Yeah.
But tell that to Jonathan when we outside.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think the difference, and like I said, it's stated in my brother's book, Black Jesus, White Jesus, Search for Colorless Christ. Great title. Available on Amazon. But it's worshiping from a position of Jesus is Lord. Mm-hmm. Where we come from, Jesus is Savior,
Yes.
and I need
Yes,
you.
I like the way you put that. I talked about the distinction between the oppressed and the oppressor.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, and here's where I make people angry, and I'm not trying to make people angry. I'm just stating a point of view.
Gloria Steinem said, "The truth will set you free, but first it's gonna make you off."
With African American economic stratification has come the belief on the part of some that the Jesus as Savior is no longer what I need.
You really got to read the book. I hate to say it. I'm a spoiler alert. I'm sorry. That's why the title of that chapter where he's talking about that is Worshiping Up.
Yeah.
Because as you gain more,
Yes.
he's no longer Savior.
Right. Right.
But he's always Savior, right?
Yeah.
But it's no longer from a position of need, and now we don't need you as much, and because we don't need you as much, well, you start to become less and less relevant in my life.
Right.
Think about when most people truly become immersed in the Word, or it's when if you're on trial, oh, you know all the verses. You know them all. You know the story of Job inside and out.
Yes.
Like, I ain't gonna lie. In my worst moments, I memorized Job from front to back. I need this right now.
Right.
You go to Romans 8, and therefore there's no condemnation for, and you standing and proclaiming and being, you need it, right?
Yeah.
But when everything good, you don't really need it no more.
Yeah.
You kind of push to the side and till you need it again.
Yeah.
And I think, just kind of go on your point about the oppressed and the oppressor. I was listening to I saw a quote, I saw a quote, and it said that it is not the obligation of the oppressor to teach and give power to the oppressed. For if he does, the oppressed will then rise up and the oppressor will no longer be needed. And how can you expect for the very thing you're praying against this? I'm praying to be lifted from this systematic oppression, this systematic. Maxine Waters yesterday, and I don't want to date this because people are going to come years from now and see this, but in this time in history, Maxine Waters was on the floor of the House yesterday, stating, I will not yield my time.
Right.
Fighting for a discrimination bill or discrimination legislation to be held intact that prevents black people and people from color from being charged more for cars than their white counterparts.
Right.
60%
Right.
of blacks pay more
Right.
for cars than their white counterparts.
It's part of our social justice statement in our worship photo Sunday.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
So if I got to pay more for a car, there are food deserts, which make me have to pay more for food.
More for a house, too.
More for a house. Insurance is going to be higher. Like, I got to pay more and I make less.
Yes.
How am I able to get out of this cycle?
Yes.
I mean, I can get out of it. It just makes my hurdles higher than my counterparts. It's not a fair race.
Right. Totally agree.
Yet, I'm praying for a reprieve from this system that you benefit from. It is not in your best interest to tear that system down.
I look at it this way.
Or to help me.
Power is a zero-sum game.
Mm-hmm.
People who have it don't want it's not there's no such thing as shared power for those who have it. Those who don't have power want you to share it.
Yeah.
But those who have power,
Yeah.
the whole idea of sharing power does not exist
Yeah.
for them. Either I have it or I don't. I can't cede you a little bit
Yeah.
of power.
Yeah.
Anything I see diminishes
100,
me,
0
and
to
I'm
100.
not going to be diminished in any way. I'll pray for you, and I'll think good thoughts for you, but I ain't sharing no power with you. And we are caught in this delusion where we think that if we live in the same neighborhood with them, if we can eat in the same restaurants with them, that and we end up going to the same church as them, that they are willing to cede us that which they covet the most.
Yeah.
They don't covet you.
Yeah.
They covet your money.
Okay.
And now that you make more money, come on, because there are churches in this community that had to change their charters and bylaws to allow Negroes to become a part. And now we are a part of those churches, and we feel like we're so glad to be here. And I never heard the word until I came to XYZ church, when just 20 years ago, you weren't in their bylaws.
It's so funny that you say that. Two things. One, I want to explore that about power. Because I personally believe that power and money are like this.
Yes.
They go hand in hand.
Yes.
Can't have one without the other. You know,
America.
A famous philosopher once said, first you get the money, then you get the power.
Right.
A great Negro philosopher said that. But I wanted to do a little social experiment. I didn't necessarily want to go to the big white mega churches. I wanted to see how much our white counterparts really love the Lord. Like, how much you really love him? How much you really believe that's in that Bible, in that Judeo-Christian Bible? How much do you really believe that? I wanted to go to a church in Denham Springs.
Bless your heart.
I haven't done it. That's why I'm still alive. But I wanted to go just to see if I was going to be welcome as a Christian brother, with open arms. Are you gonna welcome me? Are you going to, like, I wanted to just go and disrupt the whole service just by my mere presence. Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna be overly loud. Wasn't gonna draw attention to myself. I wasn't gonna sit in the front. I was gonna sit in the back. I was gonna clap. I was gonna not sing too loud. I wasn't gonna fall out. I don't want to fall out. Might not wake up. You know, be like, man, I came to Denham Springs just to hang out, literally. No, but the thing is I wanted to do that just to see how many people would really be welcoming. Right. And I think now we're living in a time period in America, in society, this moment in history, where I can't say that all of this just came out of nowhere. Such the political and social divisiveness, it had to have always been there. Mm-hmm. And we were lulled to sleep just because, like you said, we can move into some of the neighborhoods at a higher cost. We can get a few of these jobs. You know, they are letting a few in.
Right.
I just don't believe that you have the white evangelical church that supports someone, and I don't want to get too political, who can support or be dismissive of rhetoric that is not conducive to unity, when I thought the whole purpose of the church was unity. Mm-hmm. The body of Christ is supposed to be unified. And when you have evangelicals that support overwhelmingly 80% plus that support someone who spits and spouts racial divisiveness, social divisiveness. Sure. How can you reconcile that? How? Now, that's one thing that my brothers and I talk about all the time, because my oldest brother was one of the first blacks to lead prayer, just a simple prayer of the Kentucky Baptist ministers. I don't want to mix up the
Kentucky Baptist State Convention.
That right, that.
Yes.
If not the first, maybe the second, but I want to say it was the first because nobody celebrates the second. And you know, like who celebrates? Like, man, I came in second place. Way to go! I was the second person to ever do. Like, nobody ever celebrates Larry Doby. But Larry Doby was the second black person to play in Major League Baseball just a month and a half after Jackie Robinson. Yeah. There's no Larry Doby Day. Nobody's retiring number 47. Like, nobody ever in the history of baseball will wear 42 again. Why? Because Jackie was first.
Yes.
But Larry Doby was signed first, but he didn't get in the game first. Jackie Robinson did. Larry Doby, Cleveland Indians. I know my history. So just something as small as that, the first black to do that in a sea of traditional white faces. Mm-hmm. And most of these people support overwhelmingly the racial divisiveness and social divisiveness of not just one politician, but politicians who ride and support with this politician. Certainly. How do you reconcile that?
There's a word for it.
What's
hypocrisy.
That? Hypocrisy.
That's what it is.
So again, I think that goes back to the initial point that we started off saying. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you want me to support something that is overtly hypocritical.
Yes.
How do you get people to throw that aside? Because that hypocrisy, the one thing people have a very, very hard time doing is lying to themselves. They'll do it, but after a while, it's either you're going to be crazy or you got to make a change.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see parts of that change, because we can say one thing, like perfect example. We say money equals power, okay? Or first you get the money, then you get the power. But we have been giving people this idea, especially in the black church, that money is bad and money is evil. You know, I don't want to sound too much like Reverend Ike, but you need money. If
Certainly.
money is so bad, then why you need it?
Certainly.
Why you work for it? You'll work for tomatoes then.
All right.
No, you need money, and it's okay, but we give this sense off that it's noble to be in poverty. It's noble to be in need, and so how can you expect the black church to rise up when they don't even want to give to make the black church powerful?
Right.
Because we have been brought up so many times to live out of lack.
Yes.
We're taught lack.
It should not be lost on people that while America is becoming a more secular nation, fewer and fewer people are going to church, and that's across all ethnic groups. It is less so in the African American community than it is in other communities. The two largest ethnic groups that attend church, according to Barna, the statistical group, are African Americans and Hispanics.
That's because we still need the Lord.
Yeah.
Heard got a light bill due.
Work it out. There you go. It speaks to our economic status. But what is also true and ironic is the fact that even though we are economically less successful than others, we tend to give better
Really?
than our white counterparts.
Really?
We tithe more with less, granted with less,
Yeah.
but we tithe more than other ethnic groups tithe, which to my way of thinking explains why we're all of a sudden more welcome.
Right. I was about to say that, like,
Because we go to church more,
Yeah.
and we give a greater percentage of our money to the church than other groups. Hey, come on over.
and then too,
Glad to have you.
we happy to be in the building.
Yes.
And and I hate to say this, you know.
And this is the way heaven is going to be. Heaven knows no color. Heaven knows
you
no.
walk in, you got a CC's coffee over here.
Yeah, that's right.
ATM next to it though, but you know, make sure you stop that ATM first, cause straight cash, homie.
That's right. That's right.
And you walk in, and the breeze hits you as soon as the door is open, and someone, hey, how you doing? You're like, wow, this must. What the Ohio player said, heaven must be like this.
Yes.
You walk in, and the lights change. How did the lights change colors to meet my mood? I feel so amber right now.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
The tone of everything, and how does it do that? And
So this is the dilemma, and I appreciate your willingness to share with me, because I'm approaching this as a seeker. I was raised in the church, third generation Black Baptist preacher. My grandfather served this church for 25 years. My father served this church for 50 years, and now I'm in my sixth year as pastoring.
Oh, you got a long way to go.
Oh, if the Lord lets me stay up, stay above ground and not below it, if He lets me stay. But
that's crazy.
But
You'd be like,
I come from a traditional African American Black Baptist background.
Yeah.
Consequently, there are.
Hold on. How traditional? Did the choir march in?
Oh Lord, yes.
Okay. Rock, slow rock from the side?
No. We didn't do the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That took too long. But there was a march. Believe me, there was a march, and it was a major thing when we went from walking around to having the ushers go and get the money. You know, we used to have, everybody had to march around.
Oh yeah.
And when we went from 2 offerings to 1, how you gonna shortchange the Lord like that? We ain't gonna have the penny offering. We ain't gonna have the mission offering.
Let me ask you this. What kind of offering basket did you have? Was it wicker?
Oh yeah,
the wicker basket.
Oh yeah, we had the wicker basket. Without question, without question. But when you come from that background, and I I'm fond of telling people there was never a time when I wasn't in the church. I didn't have a moment when I said I'm leaving the church and then I had this epiphany and I came back. I have always been a part of I'm the son who stayed home.
Yeah. Oh, why we gotta cut the cow for him?
Yeah.
I've been here. What you doing? I've been here. You ain't never cut no cow for me. Why I didn't get the role?
So there are aspects of what's going on with people, even in my own age group, and certainly people younger than me. I have a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old, and while they love their father, they don't necessarily love coming to church on Sunday morning. They'll come, but now that they're old enough to make up their own minds, it's not like they're here every Sunday.
They skip one or two.
Yeah, or 3 or 4.
It's graduation weekend. I know they ain't coming this weekend.
Well, I don't plan on seeing them this weekend.
They do many parties this weekend.
Yeah,
but they fellowshipping.
I don't know how we can. I'm seeking, I shouldn't say I don't know how, I'm seeking to find better avenues to make the church relevant to younger people.
I'll say this too, just naturally, most people don't start taking church serious till they're 30.
And they start having families.
Yeah, they start having families, and when that comes about, then it's like, okay, let me start getting serious. I can't just play around. I need the Lord. I want to be in, you really start to, until then, you really don't start until you have that moment where you start to see mortality. Like it's never for you until you start to see mortality. That's just in life. You start taking life. You look at life different. I think ultimately though, the biggest thing is church got to be fun. Like in my mind, that's like for me, I want church fun. I'm not saying irreverent. I'm saying just fun.
Right.
Like I don't want to feel like it's an obligation. Like, oh man, here you go. How long we in church again?
Yeah.
3 hours. Oh no. Like 3 hours, man. I'm gonna miss the game.
Yeah.
That's the first half.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing too. Like my oldest brother, they got 2 services, and I see the difference in the 2 services. Like that early morning service, that's committed. If y'all have a church fast, they're going to be the ones that's really fasting.
Right.
They the ones who really read their daily bread.
Right.
That's the real. They got it in their ledger. They got tithes in their checkbook ledger. Like, it's real deal.
Yes.
I say those the committed Christians.
Right.
At the 8 o'clock service.
Right.
Now, that 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's the club Christians. That's the one still got the wristband on from the night before. Hey, weave still smell like smoke.
And you have not been to Shiloh before, have you? Because what you're describing is exactly what happens here.
Hey, you got to work harder for that 11 o'clock service.
8 o'clock worship. And when I was a boy, we didn't have an 8 o'clock. We just had 11 o'clock worship.
Yeah.
And when my father started an 8 o'clock worship here, he never in a million years thought that the 8 o'clock would
work.
Would outgrow
Yeah.
the 11 o'clock worship. And it tends to be older people.
Yep.
And
they come ready to praise.
It frustrated him to no end because he thought the church should be full at 11 o'clock. Well, your full house or your fuller house is 8 o'clock.
And then another thing too, it's capped off. Even if the spirit get to moving and we go, I know if I go to 8 o'clock, what time is Sunday school?
9:45.
I know we done at 9:45.
Yes.
Got to.
Yes.
At least 9:50.
Yes.
Maybe 10.
No.
Well,
that's what they were doing until I got here.
Yeah.
I backed them up. 9:15, 9:20, we're done.
I know we gonna be out of here.
Right.
See, 11, we gonna go into the game. First half.
My son is a Philadelphia Eagle fan.
On purpose?
He will. Yeah. I tried to raise him right. I tried to make him a Cowboys fan. But
Cowboys.
I'm born and raised Cowboys fan. Yeah.
I'll let that slide. No wonder you pastor the church. You come every day lifting up them in prayer.
It's only been 22 years
since y'all last Super Bowl.
Yeah. We're right in our stride.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
We're gonna get there another 10, 15 years.
Yeah, y'all gonna get there.
but he will not come to church if it's in conflict with an Eagles gang. No, Dad. No, the game starts at 12 o'clock. I'm not going to be there.
Okay.
For that.
Now look at that.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Right.
And passion. Discipline. He got a routine out,
Yes.
and he knows. Discipline is going to be discipline no matter what area it's in.
Right.
How do you get that over here?
Yes.
He has to get the same level of joy from the Eagles scoring as he does over here.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
Yeah.
It gives him a sense of joy.
Yeah.
It's fun. How do you make it fun over here? And that's what I think. That's the number one thing I press upon my brothers is, man, make it fun.
Yeah.
Like pastors, I get mad sometimes because pastors slick side be comedians. You like y'all sneak jokes in and everybody bust out laughing. I be looking like that was just regular funny, but y'all laughing more because y'all here in the pulpit. I feel like I be getting jealous. Like you trying to take my job.
I understand.
I be like, oh, y'all laughing at that? Man, I got way funnier jokes than that. That was just barely funny. But everybody loves when pastor makes jokes. And not saying you got to be up there, yucking it up or nothing, but I think people, like we have such a marriage to entertainment now. Mm-hmm. And again, not sacrificing, not being either or, but throwing in and. Like, this is fun. Like, you're going to come and it's not going to be the same old traditional. Like, we are, like, I'm good. Like, a lot of pastors don't bring their personality, like, be really them, And not to be a charismatic pastor and be overly that, but just make it fun. Like, this thing is fun. We're energetic and fun and, catch the congregation off guard sometimes,
Yeah.
Like, my oldest brother threw in a rap lyric, at one of his recent I say, man, what did they say when you said it? He was like, man, they died laughing. I'm like, man, what pastor know about that?
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't have laughed if they didn't know about it. Now, it's not saying that you're compromising. You're not saying, this is what I want you to do. But the title of his sermon was Making Moves, talking about transitioning from one point in your life to the next and, use the backdrop of the Israelites. And, he said, now, when most people talk about making moves, you think I'm talking about Cardi B making money moves. Everybody fell out laughing. Well, what pastor know about that? Yeah. Now, see, that's why I come in. See, I be sneaking that stuff into him. Like, but but that caught their attention. And now they're like, okay, all right, we see you, pastor. Okay. It's fun. Like, make the experience fun. Another thing, too, I think church can't last too long.
Well, we're on the same page where that's concerned.
Like we can't be in the same old time period of, we hear from, oh, it's 8:30 and you get out, it's 8:30.
Right.
Like, and that's one service,
Yeah.
Like people just don't. People's attention spans are not the same anymore.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm sure, especially like with this podcast and things like that you see people on their phones, right, through church. They'll pull it up and they'll catch you on the gram and, catch a,
We have tried to incorporate technology into worship and into church life in the time that we have been here. We put the screens in. We do live stream. We were already on television and radio, but we added a second television broadcast that deals with our Bible study. And the most recent effort is this podcast. Yeah. All designed to try to serve the present age. Yeah. Pulling an old hymn of the church. I don't know who Cardi is, but I do know to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Yeah. So if you're going to serve the present age, then you have to find a way to speak the language of the present age. And so that's
and
our
I applaud
effort.
that because a lot of pastors, a lot of people in general would say, well, I got to be all that. Pastor Jenkins ain't never want to do no YouTube and no podcast. And, so, I applaud that because you recognize it. And in you recognizing it and having a desire, like you said, being a seeker, that's what's going to draw it to you. That's what's going to help you to find those answers.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's an issue that is going to continue. Like once you get the one part and you think you got to solve, well, it's a new hurdle, a new challenge, and it's like it's a perpetual cycle. So it's a constant growth and expansion. But just something as simple as hymns,
Right.
like, you know, for man, I tell you, man, that's whew, man, I remember them days, boy, them hymns. But you know, I remember we knew that stuff. We knew those songs.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Even though I have a joke where I say most people don't really know Leaning on the Everlasting Arm, but because they get to a certain point, they be like, it's the same part. No matter what church I've been to, you know everything around that except for Leaning on the Everlasting Arm, and you really don't know the second one, the second verse that well either. But that's neither here nor there. But but it's things like that to just be more relevant, you know, like you said, embracing technology. Another thing, too, that I noticed that a lot of churches don't do, they don't say questions. Like, folks have questions. Like, can I do this?
Right.
Am I wrong? Like, real-time questions.
Right.
And I feel like I'm jacking my brother because this was his idea, and it was a way for people to text in their questions. And of course, not every question. They have somebody who goes through and, you know, is a buffer so it just doesn't pop up. And then, you know, they run it through the screen and the screen comes up and it's, you know, they have the question. Okay, that's a good question. Because a lot of times people have questions.
And he will answer the question during the worship experience?
He'll answer the question during the worship experience.
Wow.
Like, I got a question. Like, I feel you.
Right.
But how do you do this? Like, what is this? Or what does this mean? And they ask questions.
Interesting.
Like that is something that's huge. It's big, and it incorporates people into this thing. Because so many times people tell them this, and this, and it's outward. But it's not like, again, if I'm about being and being is outside of this worship, outside of this church, outside of this worship experience, is where I really need this stuff. You got to equip me. You can ask questions in school, can't you?
Yeah.
Why can't you ask them in church?
Yeah.
And not saying that, you know, everyone, but, you know, the ones that are relevant to the message, the ones that you can really nail down and you see, okay, you know, and the person who's acting as the buffer is the one who has a great responsibility because they're like, okay, this is a good one.
Yeah.
This is one, you know, and it doesn't catch you off guard or nothing like that. It's a good one. This is one that you can answer. Right. Okay. So
I just find it interesting that he would do it in worship.
Yeah.
As opposed to
that's my
Bible
older
study.
one. That's my older one. Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. It would certainly change the dynamic of preaching because I preach from a script. You know.
And see, that's my oldest brother.
Yeah.
You know, my oldest brother is like you and him are very similar, you know, and even from the type of church coming in, and even though you had, you know, pastoral experience outside of that, he was an assistant pastor. So his is coming from a different perspective, even just in those two things, but in how he does things, even from, you know, from praise and worship to, you know, all of those, the 8 o'clock service being super swole. He says he has to work hard for that 11 o'clock service.
Right.
Like that 11 o'clock service, he gotta come on now,
Right.
come on.
Right.
Are you with me?
Right.
Are you know, like he gotta work hard for that 11 o'clock service, but the 8 o'clock service, he's like, I can read from the phone book.
Yeah.
And they with me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's but that's the middle one though. But of course, that's from a numbers perspective, it's not the same. You know, I don't want to say small, you know, because it's relative, but it's different from my oldest brother who has a on the roll membership of 350-ish. You know, that's not true. It's like 5 now. But so it's two different perspectives.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But same situation, same thing. He's even doing the same thing too. Like not with a podcast, but he wants to. He wants to get more multimedia savvy and do those types of things. So, like I said, I applaud that. That's major. Because think about this, right? You're on YouTube Where do people watch YouTube? Not on a computer. Some do, but the majority of people watching it on their phones or tablets.
Right.
So you're getting past people's barrier into their system. You know, I mean, your phone, your wallet, and your keys are the three things you can't live without. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
Oh, my phone here, my keys here, my wallet. Okay, cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You forget your phone, you feel like you done lost a child.
Absolutely.
I know.
You will turn the car around and go back.
What?
Yes.
You could be halfway to Mississippi.
Yes.
You gonna come all the way back to South Baton Rouge.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Oh, I forgot my phone.
Yeah.
I thought you. I forgot my phone.
Yeah.
Ain't you supposed to be in Africa? I was, but I forgot my phone.
Tony King, I really appreciate the time that you have shared with us today.
I'm grateful, honored.
I have grown. And seriously, as I said, I'm seeking, and I appreciate your insight, your input, and I appreciate your presentation, the way in which you've done it.
Well, thank you.
And
a reason to talk. You gave me a reason to talk.
You have plugged your brothers and
twice, at least 3 times,
and that's cool. I'm gonna plug Shiloh, and I'm gonna
there we go.
The next time you have the opportunity, I invite you to come by and share with us.
Will do.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
Appreciate your
much.
time. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next time.